Hello. I'm not sure who's with me. We'll wait a couple of minutes and see who's with us. Say hello in the chat if you are. And you feel like saying hello, do let us know you're here. I'm just setting up today's stream. I think it's going to be good fun today. More John Williams. It's a 2 in a row for John Williams. Well, technically last week was also Alexandre Desplat, but we sort of meant more the Williams route, looking at the original theme. Today we're going to be mocking up another classic iconic theme. Hello, Nishane. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, so this is going to be good fun today. I think we're going to do the Superman theme. Obviously, the Superman movie is, I'm terrible at knowing whether these things are out or about to come out. I'm completely out of touch. I'm hopelessly old these days, but it's definitely about to come out or is out maybe in the US already. I'm not sure. Hello, Sam. Glad you're with us. And yes, it's going to be afternoon of music. It's going to be good fun. As I say, Superman, we're going to be doing a small section of the iconic theme. It'd take too long to do the whole thing. That's right. Yeah, good timing for the new movie. That's what we were thinking. We thought it would be good fun to do this. It's such a great theme. We've slightly teased with the title. Is it the best superhero theme? What do you guys think? Do you have a preference? It's definitely up there in my opinion. And going through the score, well, I didn't actually have the score, but going through and sort of working at transcribing everything, has been a real treat and just reminds me all over again what a genius John Williams is, what a wonderful musical sense he has. We're going to see that as we go through here today. So yeah, this one has been partly transcribed from bits of sheet music that I've had over the years. I have like fragments of it, but I don't actually have the score. But I have seen the score before, and I used to have the score. Don't ask me where it went. A long time ago, I used to have a different version of the score. And yeah, so I've kind of reconstructed this from bits I remember of the score, listening by ear, and then also having bits and pieces. And I pretty much know that score by heart. Well, I say by heart. That's not true. Don't test me to that degree. Definitely don't know it by heart. But I knew it well enough that I think I've mocked most of this up pretty well. I say that. I mean, let's wait to the end of the stream before we go saying anything like that. Hello. Yeah, this is going to be great. Thanks for joining us, Jay. This is going to be cool, I think. We'll get into it soon. Yeah, we're going to go for about 2 hours or so. I have to leave around 6 my time. I have to go off and do some trailer music stuff, which is always good fun, but I'll be running off to do more music. And we'll be here till at least 6, which is a couple of hours my time. Any tips for anyone didn't have keyboard composing, but manually click with mouse? Well, Kevin, that's a very good question. And I mostly input things with the mouse, just because I don't know what it is. I've just never been confident playing. So most of this is input with mouse, and most of what we do today will be inputting with mouse. We may play in a few tiny bits here and there, but I find playing in, I don't know, what do you guys think? Some people love playing in, they play everything straight in. They sound great, they can do it really well. I just can't. I spend 30 seconds playing something in and then 8 minutes like getting it all right and making sure it's all, and by the end I'm like, I might as well just wrote this in and randomly quantized it, because that probably would have been better. I think I've said this before, but I just come from when I first started out, like, it was really hard to get music equipment, and I was writing on this really old, it's not even a DAW really, it's like a music notation thing called Cakewalk, which I think doesn't exist anymore. It's morphed into other things. But so I used to write everything in sheet music, because I kind of could read and write sheet music a little bit, and that was the only way I could do it. So I spent years and years clicking everything in, literally, crotchet here or half note there, and bit by bit putting it together. And I think I've just learned how to do it that way better. Hey, Peter. Hey, Brandon. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so we're going to get into this in the next few minutes, because as I say, I have to zip off around 6 and carry on writing some music, which would be good fun. But we've got a couple of hours to turn this into kind of a finished mock-up. I'm not sure we're going to get all the way through, but we're going to give it a go. We got a good section of this theme, and we're just going to work our way through it. A bit like the How to Train Your Dragon stream that we did. Hey, Ollie. However, we know quantization isn't always your friend, is it? Ollie's referring to something that will be coming out soon that you guys will probably see at some point, that involve quantization, and what I could only describe as a crime against quantization. If the quantization police, I think I'd be arrested. So yeah, stay tuned for that one, because it was a mess, but it was good fun. It's really good fun. And I can't wait for you guys to see some of the stuff that's coming up soon, because there's been some interesting video content. So that's going to be good. So yeah, I've always drawn MIDI since I first started. Yeah, it's mostly same here as well. Now I've got a keyboard and stuff. I do play a bit more in if I can, certainly sort of solo lines. But even then, like, I don't know what it is. Just sometimes I'm playing it and it's not feeling right, and kind of seems to come to life better for me if I write it sometimes. And I think differently when I write as well. When I'm playing stuff in, it's all like a big jam and I can't remember, or did I play these two notes or those two notes, and did I fill this part of the frequency spectrum in? When I'm writing it all down, I kind of remember better, like, oh, the trombones were doing this, so the tuba has to do that, so the bass trombone needs to be here, and I layer it up a little bit more accurately. Sam says, I input on Sibelius, then export MIDI to Cubase. There's probably a lot of easier ways. That's a good way to do it, though. I mean, if you're happy working inside of Sibelius and notation, that can be certainly a way to do it. There's a little part of me that if I could write with kind of notation software, I think I would. But you can't quite get the realism you need straight out of notation software. Not yet, anyway. But yeah, I think better with notes and sort of writing stuff in, I think. Currently under the weather with fever. Oh, sorry to hear that, Peter. That's not cool at all. Hope you feel better soon. Hope you're in bed, watching the stream, grab a lemon or a hot lemon and honey. That's always does it for me. Or a hot toddy with a little bit of whiskey and that's always good as well, if you're of age, of course. I'm watching you. But yeah, hope you feel better soon. Cool. So shall we move over and I'll show you what I've done, and then we will break this all down, because otherwise I'll just drone on for the rest of the day. Here we go. So here we are. We have, like we did with the How to Train a Dragon, a little section of the theme. And I think this is one of the more interesting sections of the theme. It's right at the end, but it's sort of the final statement of the Superman theme, and then this wonderful little breakdown. We're just going to try and chuck it in and make it work. Daniel James is great. Daniel James is great. Yeah, he's his streams have been very entertaining over the years. Yeah, good old Daniel. He's done some great music as well, including some stuff at Audio Imperia, which is really, really cool. I remember he did a Jaeger demo, which I loved, and was instrumental in me buying Jaeger. And he's done a lot of cool stuff since then as well. Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's just play this. This is all piano, so this is going to sound weird, but you're going to kind of hear what we're going for, and then we'll start putting it on the instruments. There we go. So that is the end of the Superman March. There's the sheet music for this, the John Williams Deluxe Collection, I think, has it. And that's the one that I used to have. And I think a friend somewhere far away has got it and never gave it back to me. So if you're watching, which they almost certainly aren't, I want my deluxe version back. It was very cool. If not, I have to buy it again. But this is sort of taken partly from bits and pieces that I've transcribed over the years, and then what I remember, and then listening to it again today. So I think it's going to be mostly accurate. So we can sort of study some of the orchestration stuff, which is very cool. What we'll probably do is just get straight into this. I think we'll start with the brass today, because this is a very brass heavy piece. That's where all the thematic material is. If we don't finish this today, we don't finish it. You know what this is like. These streams are just hanging out for a couple of hours, have some fun, have a chat, see how far we get. But we're going to see if we can get most of the way. So let me just take this, come down, put this in our trumpets. Now, we may need to duplicate our trumpets a couple of times. Cool. Let's imagine a pianist playing that. Oh my goodness. Maybe I should just release this MIDI transcription in sheet music form and say it's for pianists everywhere. Pretty sure it wouldn't make many sales, because no one wants to play this. So we're going to have to do some work on this, understandably. Let's do this, duplicate this a couple of times. I'm just using Jaeger trumpets. I may put a bit of Poseidon in, but I think today we're going to keep it simple, just to not sort of over commit ourselves, because it's quite a lot to do. So I'm going to make a couple of these. We've got the portatos as well, I think. Yeah, ain't no way a pianist is playing that. I don't know, maybe there's someone out there that could, but would they want to? That's the real question, right? Would you really want to? So sometimes I like to work this way and almost just like get every articulation, you know, copy the thing over and then start breaking this down and seeing how this works. Staccato, cool. So I think that's most of the things. Don't think we'll need, well, actually we will need legato as well, because there's a little legato moment in this, which we can hopefully kind of capture. But we're probably going to have to layer some of these today. So let's try and get sort of, there's a lot of attack on these notes, right? So most of this is going to be staccatos or portatos. Cool. Let's just see if we can start. So, okay. See, this is going to be a lot of layering today. In fact, we might even make that staccatissimo. Staccatissimo. Yeah, staccatissimo. That's what we're in. So, yeah. See, that's just giving us more of an attack on everything, which is kind of what we want and need. So most of this may be able to come from a combination of these two with a bit of legato in as well, because these two notes at the beginning are legato. I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to do this, but we're going to play around and see if we can get this working. Maybe I'll just, that's technically not legato, but for the sake. Yeah, that's kind of coming together now. So let's mute these staccatos and start to try and build this bit by bit. Take these sustains off as well. Cool, coming together bit by bit. I love these little, the way the kind of, you're going between kind of unison and harmony. So these first chords are big chords. Cool. I think we're just going to keep them a combination of those. Okay, so same thing here. This will bit by bit reveal itself, hopefully. Oh. I want them to be a little bit shorter. Not too much, but yeah, that's a bit better. Okay. Cool. Something like that. Yeah, that's starting to sound like something. So I think that first hit we don't want to be quite so. Cool. And I'm just going to lay these up bit by bit. So it's the same thing here. Beautiful chords here. Okay, nice. So what do we have? We have this going on in legato, which we definitely don't want. Cool. Got a feeling it's that. That would make more sense, right? I think I'm just missing a note here as I was mocking it up. So I don't think we want these in the portato. These are all. That's better. So we're starting to get somewhere. Not sounding brilliant at the moment, but I promise as we layer, the great thing about John Williams stuff is as you layer stuff up, it gets better and better because, you know, everything's well thought out and everything starts to complement everything else. This is going to be one of those situations, I think. And then we'll put some reverb in. We'll try and make it sound a little bit more like a John Williams score, but just sort of subtle stuff. We're not going to do anything too crazy with mixing. Cool. So same thing here. Going to take them out. Cool. We're getting there. What I'll do is probably get the first few bars pretty much sounding the way they should with the brass, and then we'll sort of move on. So these are the trombones. We're probably going to do the same thing with the trombones. And hey, Adrian, thank you for joining us. So with the trombones, probably do the same thing. We've got slightly fewer articulations, but that's fine. We're going to make it work. It's going to be completely fine. So yeah, I really agree, Peter, that, yeah, you really want that consistency, because it's really hard when you don't have consistency. It's like the shorts and the longs don't really gel together. And very often I layer these, as I'm probably going to do a lot today. So yeah, you kind of want that consistency so you can just sort of play them out together. Cool. So we can very quickly just figure out what we want everything to be here. This is going to be shorter because this is the kind of line, have a little break, you know, no one's going to be able to play that completely the way it's written. So and what we're going to have to do, because of course it's John Williams, so everything is written, well, not everything, but a lot of things are written at top ranges. So we're going to just simulate that by going here, not the velocity, coming into range, saying we want to get pretty high with these. I think it's only a semitone or two higher than our range, but nice. There we go. So we have that. Same thing here. Oh, yeah, Nucleus is great. And I say that when we did the Jurassic Park thing last week, I was looking to replace bits with Nucleus. I was thinking, oh, I'll put Araya in and Dolce in and maybe bits of Poseidon. And we did replace, or not replace, but augmented a few sections here and there. But to be completely honest with you, Nucleus just had a vibe about it that most of the time, apart from very specific instances, most of the time it was just nailing it. And the more I was trying to fix, you know, with other libraries, the more I was like, I think Nucleus is doing the job. Kind of interesting. So, okay, let's just make sure we've got this. That's the staccatissimo. Yep. So let's just have a listen to them. We obviously want them to be staccatissimo. Same thing here, just increase the range of this articulation as well. Again, I think it's only a semitone or two higher. And we're just layering the sustains and the staccatissimo here. So. Cool. Let's just keep going. This is going to be a lot of that kind of layering stuff. So that's all going to be short there. Nice. And then that's obviously going to be short there too. And we would have a tiny little gap here, just, and then probably a little bring down at that point too. Probably do the same thing with the trumpets there as well. Or we're in portato there, so maybe not, because that's not going to work. Great. And then with our trumpets, we're going to start sounding like something. Nice. And then, of course, these are our staccatos. So in our potatoes, we will end them a bit early. So we have. Great. And then we should have. Yeah, nice. Okay, so. What I'm going to do instantly is go into my mixer here. And I'm just going to take my brass bus, which I'll show you guys in a second. I'm just going to add something like Seventh Heaven. I've got a few different reverbs. Seventh Heaven's a relatively inexpensive reverb. You can see it here now. And I'm just going to maybe take something like the large hall, bit of pre-delay, maybe 30 milliseconds or so, bit of cut, just to sort of simulate what the room would do, where it wouldn't capture all those frequencies. And instantly that brass should start to sound a little bit more realistic. So when we come to maybe do a bit of a mix on this, maybe I'll try and make it sound more like the old score, where we're losing just a bit of the top end and the low end, making it more mid-focused like the old scores. But we'll worry about that when we get to it. Let's just get this in. Up, up and away. Adrian, recently I saw on a live stream channel, I bet how you get the place as soon as possible, but I can't find it anymore. Did you make it private? We did, yes. That was one of those that we had to sort of release, and then we had to make it private out of respect for the fact the campaign was going on and the production company, etc. There we go. Yeah. So it was one of those that unfortunately it was a bit of a live and done, that one. Cool. Let's now move on to the horns, get the horns in. Yeah, it's one of those things with movie stuff. You know, these are big campaigns. Everyone wants eyes on the prize. Okay, so let's do this portato. What's great about this horn line is it's kind of like a call and response almost with the trumpets and the trombones. The trumpets and trombones are playing the same thing, but just in octaves, so it's like a nice big full brass melody. And then we have the horns doing a kind of call and response. That is true. This is Jan talking, I believe, not me. Okay, so let's start making these. We want them staccatissimo. Make sure that everything is lined up where we want it. Cool. And then we're just going to shorten these long notes and get rid of these in the portatos. Great. That's all sounding good. Oh, yeah. This is where Nucleus just starts to nail that sound that you're looking for. It's all going to be okay. Okay, so altogether our brass should start to sound like it's coming together now. We're starting to get somewhere. Really great interplay between those horns and that trumpet and trombone, which are really just acting as one big melody sort of unit here. Cool. Now let's get the tuba in. Tuba is really just following mostly what the low strings are doing and the low woodwinds are doing. They're all kind of doing the same thing, which is very common with John Williams. You know, nice clear bass line. You don't have to have too much going on. And the tuba should be pretty easy to program because they're playing. In fact, let's just make some gaps. There we go. And what I have to do, maybe I'll just do a bit of key switching with these because it might be easier than putting everything on separate tracks. So here we go. We're going to start sustained, move momentarily. There we go. And then cool. So just love the way this brass sounds. This is actually two tubas inside a Nucleus. So slightly more forceful than maybe a standard John Williams, which would usually be, not always, but I think usually be one tuba. But that's okay. Whoop. Yeah, keep all your questions coming, guys, about the music or whatever you guys want to talk about. We're always interested in listening. Okay. Cool. So we have our tuba in place. Let's have a listen to our whole brass section. Should now start to sound like a bit of a unit. Cool. So that's coming together. So the trombones, it's really interesting, right? Look at this. The trombones and the trumpets are playing the same thing in the first half, just the melody in octaves. But the second time around, the trombones moved with the chords. Really interesting choice. Again, great orchestration. Pecan Records says, hey, do you know the entire arrangement? Can you buy the original scores? You can. So there's a whole catalog called the John Williams Deluxe, which has a bunch of scores. I think there's some Star Wars, there's Jurassic Park, there's Harry Potter. Superman is one of them. I know the arrangement because I've had the score in the past, and I've transcribed this before, so I had a lot of it already pre-transcribed, which I've moved over. I don't have the score at the moment, which is kind of annoying, but I've just remembered it. You know, when you've read these scores so many times, you kind of remember most of it. It might not be 100% perfect, but I think it's enough there that it's going to be right. And I certainly have been able to use my MIDI transcriptions and stuff to try and get it roughly where it should be. But you can buy the score. Those John Williams Deluxe scores are incredible because as far as I know, they are the pretty much original arrangements by John Williams. Speaking of things I can't talk about, has anybody burned out on this theme from Customs? No, never. I do know what you mean though, Peter. It's definitely been doing the rounds recently. But you can't get bored of this theme. Although I was very glad that we weren't doing a trailerized version of the theme. Let's just put it that way. No problem. Yeah, it's well worth picking up any of those deluxe scores. They're so good because if you ever want to study John Williams, you know, right at the source, those scores are brilliant. Where'd you find the scores? I'm not really sure where, to be completely honest. If you type in John Williams Deluxe on Google, they'll come up. I think there's a few places. Sheet Music something was one of the places. I bought all mine years and years ago. I haven't bought any of the deluxe scores for ages. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of John Williams stuff. And I think if you type in John Williams Deluxe scores, it'll probably take you pretty quickly to a place where you can buy them. Cool. Yeah, well worth checking out. I've got a lot of joy out of studying those scores over the years because, you know, they're just such good scores. Yeah, so well worth checking them out. And I mean, you learn so much from studying those scores. That's how I put the Jurassic Park score together as well. Okay, so let's fix up these trombones, get this little groove going in the second part. So this time, now it's come off the theme, we'll back the velocity down a little bit because we don't want this to be quite so. Okay, cool. That's sounding okay. And then is this our staccatissimo? Yep. Let's go to our sus. And then we'll just sort of shorten these because again, this is a kind of rhythm that you're not going to be able to play completely unbroken. And again, we'll bring it down a tiny bit, maybe around there. Cool. That's going to sound fine in context. I think this is one of those lines where it doesn't sound completely perfect. But when you listen to it in context. Cool. And you know what? Let's just try out of interest. Let's just take it the sustained line and just see. You know what? I might just keep it that way. I don't think this would be played quite short. You know, it's such a fast moving line. You're not going to be able to play it kind of notation accurate. So let's just keep it short. It's supposed to be moving, you know. We also create some modern themes. Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any suggestions of things you'd like to see, let us know either in the comments or in the chat or on our Discord if you're on our Discord. Sort of happy to create anything. And if these, you know, anything that's useful for you guys, and yeah, we can have a go. Obviously, if there's no sheet music available, then we may have to put it together by ear, but yeah, we can kind of do that. So yeah, you could do most of this with Jaeger. Jaeger doesn't have the woodwind, you're right, so you probably wouldn't get it 100% of the way there, but all of the brass and all of the strings and pretty much all of the percussion, maybe apart from the timpani, yeah, you could absolutely do this with a Nucleus. Cool. So lovely little moment there. We just get that French horns sticking out. Okay, so we'll just carry on with this and fix it. Just dip that down a bit because we don't want it to be too prominent. Ooh, halo. Yes, I would be well up for that. You did mention that, I think, last week, didn't you, Brandon? I think that's a great idea. Oh, I'm dipping down the wrong part here. Wasting my time, wasting my life as usual. Never mind. That's what most of my music writing is like. Here we go. Cool. So all of this would be on the shorts, I think. So we can get rid of that. Just listen to our... Maybe we would just leave the last of those. Da, 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 da. So these. Da, 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 da. And we're going to shorten them just to make sure they kind of come off quite quickly. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we don't even need it for that one. No, we'll definitely have it. We'll have it. And we'll just bring it that way a little bit. Nice. Okay, yeah. Beautiful chord there. I just love these John Williams chords. We'll have a little look at that in a minute. Just waiting for this to save, as always. Take a little drink. Could be cool with guitar and chorus Cerberus. Yeah, that would be cool. But I lost score from Omni and I haven't seen it. For Halo, Chris still has his score on the website. Does he really? Interesting. Great score, yeah. Same thing here, but you're going to shorten these a bit. Shorten that a bit. I want to get rid of all of them because that will all be... We can make that all short. Again, get away with a lot just with one articulation here. That one will definitely be long. Might even put that on the sustain so we can get a swell. Cool. We will double that. We will make a sustain, and then we shall pretty much have that line done. So call this sus. I'm going to get rid of everything for the moment, at least apart from that last note. And then we will make sure we're on the right key switch. There it is. Ooh. Cool. And then we would just do a little swell because that's kind of what would happen here. Players would dip down and then bring it back up to the very end. And we can probably take that off the portato and it should sound okay. Nice, there we go. Yeah, Matrix score is very cool. Maybe we should do a bit of the Matrix. I'd be well up for that. I don't have it, but maybe that'd be my excuse to get it. Okay, let's fix up these trumpets. Oh, we're missing out the portato. Okay, all of this is going to be shorts. Again, maybe leaving these. Just make sure what we've got going on here. Cool. I think it's just because we've got stuff going on in this legato here, which we wouldn't want anything going on there. So that's all going to be gone from legato. That's going to be gone from legato. So is that. So is that. We're just going to keep that little moment there. So, there we go. So Pekin's asking, how do I switch the articulation so quickly? So you can see I've got every articulation on a different track, which is sometimes the way I work, not always, but sometimes. And I'm just sort of choosing the notes I want to play. And sometimes I'm stacking them up that way as well. Because with a piece like this, you'll sometimes want a softer, maybe a hard attack, but a longer sustain. So I can simulate that using the staccato and the sustain at the same time, or the portato. Yeah, so that's how I'm working here, is I've just got pretty much everything that I need on different tracks, and I'm just sort of cutting bits out of the tracks where I don't need those things and then keeping them where I do. Okay. You can see I'm just muting the bits that I don't need from certain articulations. So here's our portato, you can see at the top. There we go. We actually would want that, but we want them to be shorter. Bum, bum, bum. Such a cool chord. And you know what? I might just put that on our trumpet sustains. Do we have them? Yes, we do. Makes sense to put that on the sustains, because that way what we can do then, let me just find my sustains here. I've got them muted, so let's unmute them. And just for that note there. There we go. What we can do then is do this nice little swell. That's going to be ready at the top. Just write that in. Mm-hmm. And then that's all going to be shorts, so let's take it out of the portato there. Just leave the shorts, that should sound okay. Maybe just put the portato in that one there. And maybe that one as well. So we don't get such a firm attack on that last note. I used to do a lot of keys. Great question, by the way, Peter. I used to do a lot of key switches. I still do, but the more trailer stuff I've done, the more I put everything on separate tracks. It just makes life easier, as I'm sure you know, Peter, for lots of different things, layering and also just cutting, you know, transposing. If someone says, oh, we need all this in the same key as that. And yeah, it just makes life so much easier. But key switching is the way I work when I'm working on film stuff more often, because I like to think of the instruments as like one instrument. So trumpet's one trumpet, you know, and I'm not thinking about it in 4 or 5 different ways. With trailer music, if it sounds good, it's good. You know, that's kind of how it works with trailer music, right? It just has to sound the way you want it to. But if I'm doing film stuff, personally, me, I would maybe try and think more of individual lines. Okay, so we've just got, what have we got going on here that's not quite working? Okay, that's all fine, I think. So let's just go and fix up the rest of those trombones, and we should be nearing getting most of our brass done, to some degree anyway. Okay, so none of these, none of these. These are all shorts. You can literally see the shape of them. They're shorts. And then I put all them on shorts as well. And then that would definitely be a bomb. And same thing here. Quite a sudden duck down. Very cinematic writing, you know, this like what we call like an FP, you know, where you hit with a forte and then instantly down. So kind of piano or something like that, and then swell back up. Yeah, nice. Something like that, I think. Yeah, it's really good way to do it, I think, Sam, especially if there's a chance that an orchestra may be playing, or live instrumentalists may be playing bits of it, because that way then you know that there's a fair chance it's going to transcribe well. Whereas, yeah, if it's all on different tracks, it's like you almost have to piece it back together, or an orchestrator or whoever's working on it has to piece it back together. But with trailer stuff, yeah, I'm just writing, you know, as you guys know, usually writing so fast that I'm just I just need the quickest way to get it all working, basically. Nice. I think just hold that a little bit longer. And then dip down around there. I think that'll work. So let's have a listen to what we have up to that point. Nice. Cool. That's starting to get somewhere. And it's in those legatos. That's what's sounding so funky. No, no, thank you. Not this time, Mr. Legato. That's nice. Okay. Okay. We need no more legatos there. All of this is going to be shorts, I think. So no more portato there either. Okay. Yeah, so it needs a bit of work, but we're sort of getting there now. That's pretty much how it's going to sound. Same thing here in this big sus section at the end. Boom, and then up. I know what you mean, Sam. Yeah, it can be messy. There's a few ways. What DAW do you work in Cubase, there's a few ways to work around that, which I use sometimes. But yeah, it depends on what DAW you're working in. Okay, let's just fix up the rest of this tuba and then. So I want all them to be staccato. It's lovely kind of plodding tuba sound. Cubase, cool. So there's quite an easy way of doing certain things in Cubase. Let me show you, well, a certain way that I use with multiple tracks. Once you get something going, if I'm working on a trailer thing, I'll work this way. Let me just show you how I'll work. I'll basically hide everything, or I'll show tracks with data. So if you show tracks with data, you're only going to see tracks that have data on them. So when I start, I have a blank template, and then I'm just finding one by one the tracks that I want. If I want a violin Mikado, I'll click on it. If I want, I don't know, Jaeger trumpets, I'll find them in here and I'll click on it. So there they were, trumpets. And I build my sketch up. Everything's loaded in, but I'm almost building line by line. And that way then with these visibility agents, I only see the things that I'm actually using. I can always go back. I can see all tracks. There's all my tracks. And then if I want to see tracks with data, in other words, tracks that are being used, I just do this. And then you can do it by cursor position as well. So you'll see if I say tracks, but here's my cursor. If I say tracks at the cursor position, that track disappeared. But if I come up here where it was and say tracks at the cursor position, it appears again. So I can quickly see what's being used at different points. These visibility agents are great. So when I've got really busy tracks, I just pare it down to see the tracks that I'm using. And that makes life so much easier, because in trailer stuff where I've got like 1,000 track template, the amount of scrolling up and down I'm doing like this is just crazy. And, you know, usually in the end, I was only using like maybe 50 tracks or something, you know, so I just pare it down to those tracks. So yeah, experiment with these visibility agents if you haven't already. They're really, really useful. And you can get advanced agents. I don't really use any of those. It looks scary to me. But essentially, you can just see what you're using, or, you know, find ways to only see the tracks you want to see, which is an, you know, sort of easy way of just getting rid of stuff that's clutter. Okay, so let's very quickly go through and fix all this up. You notice we haven't done any velocity stuff at this point. Maybe we won't. You know, we just sort of kept it all 100 velocity here, which is kind of cool. Maybe we'll do a little bit of jigging around with that as we go. Nice. There's a bit of a slowdown there, which we'll maybe put in at the end. Okay, so we've kind of done our brass to where we need it to be. It's not sounding perfect by any means, but it's sort of it's working. You know, you can kind of hear what we're doing with it. Let's add a little bit more seventh heaven to it, just a little bit more into the mix there. Yeah, that's really useful. It's all up here in this little icon, and you can find different ways of doing things, and you can always go back to show all tracks. So if you ever miss something and you're like, oh, I don't know where it went, you can just go and click up here. But you've got different things, track versions, rulers, all visible folders, really, really good ways of managing your tracks, because I'm the same as you. I used to just have all my tracks out like this, and 3/4 of the way into writing a track, I'd just be like, oh, it was like a mission just to get back to the top again. With clicking this, you know, as you can see, we did it here, and we just see the tracks that we're using. And I can always go back when I'm ready to move on. So that's a really good one. Okay, maybe let's start getting these violins in. Okay, so let's do a rare. We've been using Dolce quite a lot recently, but let's see. Grab all these, grab these are going to be our legato tracks. Yep, they're all, there we go. Okay. Cool. So this might take a little bit of time, but that's okay. Okay, so don't want any of those, don't want any of those, don't want that. What I'm going to do here, it does get messy. There's no perfect way to do any of this. So, you know, if you're doing it a certain way and it's sort of kind of working but not quite working, welcome to the club. I've never met a composer who says everything works fine, it's all great, nothing to look at, everything just does what I want it to do. Everyone's saying the same things, which is, it's not quite right, and, you know, this works, but then I can't get this to work, and yeah, it gets frustrating. But that's just the workflow thing, and I think, okay, there we go. So very quickly. Cool. So those two together. Starting to come together. Nice, just using those two things. I'm going to do the same thing. Seventh heaven on here. Let's just copy it across, be lazy. They're all supposed to be in the same room, right? This is very much old school recording style where everything's just in the same room, jamming at the same time. Nice. And then duplicate this again. Which is going to work this way. Wait for this to load. Take a second. Yes, congratulations, Peter. I think we did mention that last week, but if we didn't, congratulations. Always nice to see people doing well. That's a great placement. That's another one that's been cropping up a lot recently, but I'm not complaining. All good fun to do dinosaur stuff. Okay, so. Okay, we'll worry about that as we go. So. Same thing here, we're just going to do. Very, very quick velocity in here. Hey, well, yeah, that's great to hear, Sam. I mean, I think it's just that practice thing that you've got to do, isn't it? It's sometimes difficult and, you know, a bit frustrating, but I've definitely been there. So yeah. So we don't need any of this. All of this can go. Okay. Oh, what am I? I think I'm pressing the wrong buttons here. You know, I'm just doing loads of work and then instantly undoing it. Nice. And we're just going to want to get rid of them from, not from the spiccato. Where's our staccato line? Yeah, from this performance legato, we don't need them. Nice, we'll get rid of all of them from there. And then we'll duplicate that. Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Congratulations, Michael. Placement with Verdant, which is very cool. Make this a sus. Oh. Got to get the capital. Oh my goodness me. If I don't get the capitalization right, I can't move on. Them's the rules. So what we want to do is actually come in here, get array, go to my core articulations, and then get the sus up. Okay, nice, nice, nice. And then we're just going to want, for these core articulations, there. Same thing here, dip down, everything dips so that the little sort of melodic figure in the brass can go. And then that's all obviously going to be short. You can see that. Same thing here, dip down again, up to that final sort of coda mark. Okay, so. Crazy writing, but what we're going to do there. Just a little bit of random velocity to make it sound just a tad more realistic. So. Starting to come together. Hey, you write those runs quicker. Do you mean, hey, did I make them quick, or hey, did I get them written so quickly? It's just, I'll show you what they are. It's just a combination of our legato patch and array. And then I've basically doubled that with our spiccato patch. That gives it a little bit more attack, and together they blur into this kind of... and yeah, I've just used a little bit of velocity to sort of get the right attacks at the right points. And it works pretty well. I do love the Olympic fanfare. It's great. The 1984 Los Angeles Olympic fanfare. He also did the Winter Olympics as well, which is a beautiful piece, which would be great to cover as well. And his news theme. If you've not heard the mission is incredible. And I would love to cover that. Sound like some rock band. Love to do that, though. Mock it up. It would be great. The mission's an incredible piece of music. And that would be a great one to do. Okay, let's keep going. Let's do our second violins, which are doing mostly the same as the first violins, but there is some differences. So let's do the same thing. Make sure this is our spiccato fast, which is what I want to get those lines in. I'm going to double that, put it onto mockup short because we have some mockup lines that I want to do as well. So we're getting there, nearly an hour down. We've sort of got something that sounds okay. So I'll use our mockup short here. I'll just turn that into... There we go. And then I'll also put this on a performance legato. And then finally, I'll just do a sustain patch as well. And then we will just sort of cut these up how we want them. Then we should be getting towards something that's kind of working. Low string should be quick enough to do. Okay, so that was going to be our sustain. So at the top, nice sustain. There we go. Name that. Doing it again. Can't move on. Okay, so with our sustains, we're just literally going to want the longer notes. All these short notes are going to be shorts. All of this can go. All of that can go. All of that can go. Might not. In fact, we're probably doing that because that's going to be... There we go. And then same thing here. We'll fix all that as we go. With our mockup, I already know now because we've done this, that we're only going to want that mockup. You can kind of see by the shapes of the chords, or the notes, sorry, not the chords, but the shapes of the notes, which ones are likely to be what. So all of these short notes are going to be either shorts or the performance. That mockup, yeah, let's leave that mockup, see if it works. That's all too short for mockup. Might do it at the end there as well. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh, and we want to get rid of them. Okay. And then in our spiccato, we might leave the whole thing spiccato. A little bit of random. Okay, and then in our performance legato, the only thing we're really going to want is these little moments here. So get rid of all this. All of this, yes, go, 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 go. Don't need any of that. So we want these to be legato because we have these little kind of, they're not runs, but they're obviously these little figures that overlap. Okay, nice, cool. We don't want them. We do want those. It's going to sound nice legato. Cool. And then we'll just bring this up to something around where we think it's going to be. Let's have a little listen to our second violins. They should be mostly in place. Same thing here. Get rid of all these. No, 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 no. 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 Don't need any of these. These are all shorts. So, oh, I have to do it again. I keep pressing shift. And it's just stopping me. It's kind of cancelling everything I'm doing. It's a really bad habit. I've been in trailer land for the last day or so. Lots of kind of duplicating and moving lines. Really bring that down here. Swell up. Okay, sounding pretty good. And then all of this is obviously not legato at the end, so no thank you to any of this, no thank you to any of this, no thank you to any of that either. We'll just make all that. Bye-bye, no problem at all. Hope you can join us next week. And yeah, this one will hopefully remain available. So if you guys do have to leave, want to check it out later, you'd obviously be more than welcome. Just get rid of that performance legato line. Cool. Okay, let's just quickly get our violas in. These are not playing quite as important a role, but they're still a very important role. So let's... What I might do is keep all our violas just on these shorts for the most part. So we maybe don't need the legato. If I had more time, I'd probably do all this nice and neat. But for this, I think we can get away with just sort of making this. Yep, that's also good. And we've got cool. And then we'll get our, so that's our spiccato line. Duplicate this and make it I agree. Sorry, I've been keeping a bit out of the conversation, but I'm trying to catch up. Very interesting conversations going on about trailerizations. Trailerizations can be very fun. I agree. Usually, I think I prefer the original, but it all depends. It all depends. And there's room for both, right? That's the most important thing. I do love hearing how trailer composers, you know, just reimagine themes and some of the interesting things they do. Okay, that's all there. Don't need that. And then we'll just do the sus patch as well. And then we're kind of done. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas for stuff that we cover, the Halo theme would be very cool. I've done it again. Here we go. And then if we also want to write some original music, if we want to think about, you know, if we ever wanted to look into sort of how we put original music together and go into detail on that a little bit, we'd be up for that too. Just kind of whatever works for you guys, you know, whatever would be useful. Okay, so there we go. Having it again so I can understand what I'm doing. Okay, so that should be our viola line pretty much in. We don't need that, do we? So our strings. Don't need those. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, let's have a little listen to where we're at now. So we've got most of the strings and the brass in. It's so good, the Olympic fanfare. I was 1 year old. I don't remember it, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool opening ceremony. Pretty cool music. Very cool time generally. Okay, so let's just get our double basses in and our cello. let's do our cello first, because that's sort of playing a more important role overall. We'll try and make these quick because they shouldn't take too long. Most of this can probably be our marcato short, and let's just see. So, because I think they're going to sound good in these. Nice, and then we'll do it in the shorts as well. That gives a bit more attack, and then we'll just cut out what we don't need from the marcatos. And then the spiccatos. Oh, I'm doing it again. I've already got to check. Okay. Spiccato. Let's just see where we're not going to need. Yeah, I think all of that can be short. And then that can all be short, I think. That can all be short, I think. And then we'll probably just have the sustain at the very end there as well. Look at the way the cello divide into 3 here. This is great. This happens in the score as well. Listen to this little line. It's so cool. So we have a moment there where the cellos go above our range. Easily fixed. These are cellos right at the top of the range there. Just got to go a tiny bit further. Push it a little bit more. And we'll do the same here, sort of building up. And then we'll do the final sustain at the end. And then we got our cello, and then we got our basses in, and then we're mostly there. We got to do some percussion, obviously, and some woodwind. Woodwinds are mostly just following the other instruments, just slightly different things. But the percussion is quite important to this because this is a march, right? Marches don't sound very march-like without percussion. And John Williams is a great percussion writer. I mean, guess what? He's great at writing for everything, but his percussion is always really interesting too. So, cool. And then that. So, let's have a listen. You do type them in note by note, and yes, unfortunately, there's not many quick ways to do music. That's the frustrating. Well, not frustrating because I love doing it, but yeah, it's something you just have to sort of almost putting line by line. Sometimes, you know. So yeah, just building it bit by bit, and then we have these marcatos. We'll do the same in the basses again. Here we go. You can see I'm going to choose marcato short, and then our basses should sound nice and. Same thing here. We are going to do a spiccato, which is a short note. And is it your favorite childhood soundtrack? It's definitely up there for me. I think there's some other John Williams that's a bit more my childhood. Superman was probably a little bit early for me, but I definitely remember watching it as a kid. Certainly Superman 2 and 3, but also this one too. And then we're going to have... There we go. We need all of those. Oh, and that one there at the end. Okay. Now we're going to put these sustains in, and then we should be done with the brass and the strings. So we can have a little review of where we're at, because we should start sounding a little bit like a finished theme minus some little bits and pieces here and there. Well, some quite important bits and pieces, but it will start coming together. Okay, just that long note there in the sustains. Oh, I lost it. There we go. We do the same thing. Little dive down and then rise up. Okay, let's listen to our strings. Really going to dive those down. Really make some more dynamic. There it is. That's our problem. We have it there and it doesn't need to be there. We don't need those two either. So we clean things up bit by bit. So that should now sound a lot more. Nice. So here's what we have so far. Speaking of timpani, timpani is very important in this one. So maybe we'll get that in next. Because I think getting the percussion in would be good. I know how you feel, Jan. Know how you feel. Okay, let's get our timpani in. It's a really nice combination of rolls and hits. We'll probably key switch the timpani because there's really no point in separating this out, I don't think. Some instruments you can get away with it. Okay, promise you it will sound good when it's done. With the timpani, we'll need to do a bit more velocity work, I think. So there we go. Now, where I've done these fast notes, they're going to be rolls. So just extend that out. Oh, there we go. And then I'll come in here, key switch up to here, and then I know that's a roll there. And back to dun. So now go back to our key switch there. Okay. Same thing here. That's a not so well done roll. That's just when you're using lots of notes at the same time, which obviously is not the optimal way. The optimal way would be to key switch to an actual played roll and then program that in. So there it is. Key switch. And then do the same thing. Timpani player sort of hit high here, come down, gradually come back up. And then for that final note there. Same thing here. That's going to be one note. It's going to be a roll. Let's just grab that. Get rid of that. We're getting there, guys. And the woodwinds are important in this, but sort of it's more of a texture. They're not really doing anything completely unique for the most part. They're just... So we're going to want that to be more of a swell up. And then final roll at the end there, you can see. That's that big moment right at the very end. So drag that out the length of our roll, leave a tiny gap. Something like that, and then in for the final. Nice, but probably not quite that. Okay, let's listen to our timpani in context. Just one cool thing I want to show you about the timpanis, right? If you look here, we have these descending notes in the bass part. Dum, 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 just going down the G major scale. The timpani just stays on the G. The reason for that is because a timpani player would have maybe 4 to 6 timpanis with them usually. So you can't have every note. One of the things in mockup world is that you can have any note you want. You can be going from all different notes. In the real world, for a real timpanist, you may have 4 to 6, maybe 8 timpanis, individual drums if you're really lucky. And each one has to be tuned. It's not very quick to tune them, so you can't really tune them in a track that easily. So they have to be set notes. They have to be set kind of pitches. And so John Williams has written everything just on G here. I just sort of kind of seem a bit weird, but it's actually really cool because it acts as a kind of weird pedal almost as these are going down. And very idiomatic writing. This is exactly how you'd write for timpani. There's not really an easy way to do it. So that's quite an interesting thing that I do remember about this piece. Hey Cosmodium, good to see you. What I like to do with my timpanis, first thing to do is I'm going to get some Seventh Heaven on these two, give them a little bit of room. Not quite so much. Timpani sounds a bit weird on its own, but it does work in the context of the mix and the piece. And I'm also just going to find my timpani along here somewhere, and I'm just going to insert simple EQ. I'm going to boost the lows a tiny bit, not too much. And I'm just going to take some of the highs out, push it in the back of the room a bit more. And just excite it, give it a bit of distortion. Kind of grunges it up a bit, but makes it sit better in the mix. Before, after. Cool. Now, maybe for our woodwinds, I've got them all on one track here. They're literally, if I should show you, they're just doing what other instruments are doing. I think there's only one point where they do a run here that's kind of unique to them. Everything else is really just copying either the strings, the low strings, the high strings. So let's maybe just try and put these on a woodwinds ensemble patch. Start there. It's not the most accurate way to work. When we only got 2 hours, it may be the best overall way to work. Let me just repurpose one of these. If I had the time, I'd probably go in and program each of these individually. But because we're just looking for the sound, the feel of the woodwind more than specifically, really well orchestrated elements of it, this might work fine. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to sound horrible. One thing that we will want to do is alternate, or rather choose what we have on our shorts. Ollie has so much fun being game maker. By the way, Adam, one more thing I'd love to mock up is the Star Trek Voyager theme. Oh, I'm with you, Peter. I would gladly do that. We'll get some Star Trek in. I have the Star Trek motion picture, the original motion picture full score up there, which is a wonderful score as well. I think maybe we'll do the Voyager theme because that's a bit more modern, but okay. So we take all of that away apart from maybe that. Maybe we'll leave and we'll have them okay. I think they could all be shorts. Voyager theme's so cool. Star Trek would be such a great one to do as well. I think all of that can be cool. Let's sort of spike these woodwinds up a bit, right? We're going to make them sound, first of all, a bit of Seventh Heaven. Not too much. You want to make them and then I'm just going to use a bit of OTT. I'm going to be lazy, but that's just going to give us a little bit of edge to these. Let's see how they fit in the mix. what I'm going to do is just come in here, and these little notes, I think we're just going to want them to be down a little bit. They're probably just getting a little bit in the way. Dum, dum. Okay, same thing here. First note's fine. I agree. It's got all that great John Williams goodness without really hearing them. But you're right. I'm going to grunge our brass up. Let's just do it like this. Ooh, Metal Gear would be cool. That would be awesome. I would definitely do that. Maybe we'll also do some super retro stuff as well. But Metal Gear would be a great show. That's very cool. Okay, so we sort of just did a tiny mix on this. It's not really much of a mix, to be completely fair, but yeah, the frantic back and forth of trailer world. Multiband compression on a Cubase YouTube, that's what it looks like. It is, yeah. I'm really just using a preset called Hard Basic multiband compressor. What it does is it just sort of squeezes some of the sharper frequencies. Let me show you. Not doing a crazy amount, but in the brass it does more. It sort of keeps things in check. The brass can get a little bit nasally in the top end and maybe around 1.5 to 3K. It just gives it some more warmth. Pushes those trumpets in a little bit, makes them feel a little bit more part of everything. Okay, Metal Gear. We're getting good reviews about Metal Gear here. Yeah, so now our orchestras are sitting a little bit better, sounding a little bit more like a kind of John Williams-y sort of orchestra, taken a little bit of the mids out, you know, brought out the low and the high ends a little bit. I'm terrible at understanding compression. Honestly, Sam, me too. I mostly just use For the multiband, the hard basic, now just tweak to taste. I mean, I understand compression, but it's a subtle art form. With orchestral music, generally speaking, less is definitely more. But for this, I sometimes use it just to push things back in the room a bit, glue them together a little bit, and give them a bit of that hype that some John Williams scores has. He has pretty hyped sound. It's very traditional sound, but it's just a little bit hyped. So yeah, let's get some of the percussion in, because that makes a massive difference. Here we go. Let's get the piattis in. So I've got all my piattis on one line. So what I can do here is take all this out, which is not piatti. That's our piatti there. In fact, let's just delete them. I'm going to call this piatti, which is a symbol, one of these. You've probably seen them before. And then let's find them. Where are they? There we go. So down there. These play quite an important role in this piece. So, let me just show you. It's pretty subtle, but without, you would really notice. Let me just bring them up by a few dBs. Do you see how without all the life drops out? Piatti is like the equivalent of white noise, right? If you ever do trailer music, use lots of white noise and white noise hits just to get a lot of frequency and a lot of high-end energy. So without, they sounds fine, but it's missing something. That's my example. That's our big one. So. Me too, Peter. My metal stem on a trailer just followed by an occasional louder splash or crash here and there. Got to get that energy in there somehow. And with these piatti, we're going to bring it the high end even more. Let's put one at the end for good measure. I can't remember if there is one at the end or not, but now, really what we're missing from here now is the big final thing, or maybe not final thing, but the big thing that we really need to put in is going to be our snare drum. This is a march, right? The snare drum is the backbone of a march. It's the backbone of a lot of John Williams themes. The snare drum all over Star Wars, because Star Wars is a kind of march as well, really. Yeah, you're not gonna get very far without this. Seventh Heaven's very cool. This is like the low cost one, I think. Yeah, because they do another one as well, which I think is a fuller one, like a bigger one with more reverbs, impulses and stuff. But I never got that, and yeah, this one's great. So that's where we're going to want. Oh, that's what I want to do. I don't want to do that. I want to go back up here, find our perc sketch here, bring that down, paste that in, and then get rid of all this stuff, which is our piatti, which you've done, and then we've got to keep this in. So let's get that down where we want it to be. So Why are we not having any say? Oh, it's because of, oh yeah, that's why. Okay, so do we have, okay, so we're gonna have to very quickly kind of program some of this in. Let's just do this first. Get rid of all these because it's gonna make life harder. Okay. Get that in there. Oh. Piano's pretty cool. Yeah, it's it sounds pretty good. Metals, jacks. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there for that kind of thing, right? It's like everyone needs those metals. But yeah, this one, Nucleus and Jaeger's piano sometimes makes its way into my trailer stuff too. Sometimes it's just got the right tone. It's definitely in the template. Okay, let's just see. So do you see how it's given us that kind of alternating hit and roll, hit and roll? That's the kind of the backbone of a march. Sounds so much better than that. Just doesn't work. Do that, do that, do that. Copy, copy. And same thing here. We're just going to very quickly get rid of all these doublers that we don't need. They're going to be replaced by rolls. Roll, 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 roll. Then a few more here at the end. Couple more there. And we're almost at the end. And again, these are almost like a white noise element, but with a more transient hit. So I'm going to guess that's... And then obviously this here is not supposed to be... Oh, let me just, before I do that, let me just get... Okay. Then we know, like everyone else has been doing, it's going to dip down, give space to a little brass melody. Nice. And then exactly the same thing here. Get rid of them. Same thing here at the end as well, I think. Apologies for the percussion tour there. Okay, so that should now, together, just those three instruments alone, the piano, the timpani, and the snare. So guess what? That wasn't a roll. And that one just needs to swell from nothing almost. And then same thing here, swell from nothing. That brings us up to that little point there. And then we have a final version of it here. And then we get rid of all these. This is where we do our little... There we go. Oh, we don't want that one at the very end either. Cool. Nice. We are sort of getting there, right? There's a few bits to do where we have these. We don't need any of that. And we want to put the same thing here. A little kind of the audio piano. So let's have a listen to where we're at. We're kind of nearly done. We've got 20 minutes left or so, though. So maybe we'll just refine bits and pieces. But we'll see where we're at. I would probably use Dolce bass, which I'm going to show you in a second, just to add a lot of low end to this and a lot of kind of cinematic weight. But just the bass, I think. Nice. That's starting to sound pretty good. So let's just keep going. So with Dolce, we can add, I'm just going to use the bass Mercato. Love the sound of this. And I think we'll just be able to copy over what we have. Where is it? Bass Mercato. Pretty much just what we've got. And it should all kind of work because the Mercato's got a lovely attack. So this will just kind of reinforce. Do you see how it's just got more of a roomy, sort of bigger texture in some ways? Sounds beautiful, Araya, and it's got a really nice, clean sound, but I feel like we're missing just a bit sort of weight, if you like, you know, and just I think this will help a lot. And then we'll just tweak the taste. So let me just pop this in here. We'll bring it up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come back to our original double bass. Just copy that in, and it should kind of mostly work. We could be more specific and sort of use key switching and stuff, but because this is sort of a layer, I think it's going to be fine. So let me show you how this sort of fits in with Dolce basses. Let me put that one at the bottom of all my Dolce, the Araya, sorry, basses. So here's Araya. Sounds great. See how it just sort of adds like this bass element to it. It's got this the bloom of the hall that Dolce's in. Let's just maybe do a little bit more programming on these brass just to get a little bit more out of them. Take Q-Link off. So there is an example of where we could just back off that portato. And I think what we want here is take this out of portato, make sure it's on the legatos only at that point. Cool. And then just make sure we've got. And then maybe we'll also put it on the staccatos as well at that point, which gives us the attack. Just make sure that's working. Oh, that's a potato. That's why that's not working. Where am I getting confused here? That's why. So. Okay. Really just get them to stick out, I think. Oh. Same thing here. I'm going to excite these just to give them some nastiness in a way. Okay. Might just be something a bit funky going on there. And I can see what it is. It's these potatoes that we don't need. You say potato, I say tomato, tomato. Cool. What I might do there is just copy that line into here instead. If I, there we go. I think that might be better on, maybe just on the sustains. So what we can do here is really shape the line a bit more. Nice, they're not going to go down quite that much. Cool. Same thing here. Maybe they will go down a bit more. Swell them up a bit. What we have to do here at the end, here, is just bring our tempo down a little bit, because this is a kind of like a row, a slowdown. If you ever go to a live music concert, sometimes these big endings, they'll just sort of go, you know, they'll slow them right down. You can do it however you want. So I think, Cobalt, I think that's new to the new version. It never used to happen. And yeah, I've noticed it too. It's kind of an interesting technique. Sort of simplifies the curves, if you like, which is actually quite cool. And what I'm going to do here is move a tiny little break for everything, because you wouldn't be able to get straight from that note to the high note. You need to breathe, and it's just going to make it sound a bit naturally more phrased. Same on the woodwinds as well. Tiny little break here. That's just going to give that final note more emphasis. And same on the strings as well. Even the strings where you probably could get away with it, you're going to want just maybe a tiny little. Nice. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Oh, let's do a little bit more of a break on those brass. Cool. So we're sort of kind of there, you know. Let's do a little bit of work on these runs. So what I'm going to do here, you can see a run. Think about like a player, they're almost going to run up to these notes and down. So okay. You know what I'm going to do here? While we got time, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on. Let's try solo flute. I'm obviously going to overlap all those notes. We're not going to be able to get doubles because it's legato. See if this works just to help provide a little bit more. Nice. It's going to work. So. Cool. That kind of works. Let's put it on the oboe as well. And then down a little bit in the mix. What I'm going to do here is on this section, I'm just going to, on those notes that held a little bit longer, and have a sustain to give them a little bit more sort of emphasis. You'll see what I mean now. Da, 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 da. So, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. Let's have a little listen to that. Nice. This kind of a thing. Those were legato patches for the run from solo, yeah. I've just sort of blended them with the Nucleus staccatissimo. Oh, let me just show you. Hey, Peter. Greetings. Thanks for joining us. And you know something I sometimes like doing? It sounds a bit weird, but sometimes I like to put something, a little pitch shifter on one of them. Just make it a little bit out of tune, right? When players are playing this fast, the intonation's not perfect. But it actually adds a bit of life sometimes. Make it even a bit further. That's a bit much. Nice, that sounds pretty good to me. You know what? Let's just maybe duplicate this. Only have the run play on that one line there, and then put a pitch shifter on that. And it might just really help create this interesting sort of sound. So we don't want any of that. Sorry, we do want that. We don't want that. We don't want any of that or any of that. Let's just take this one, a little pitch shifter. Again, might create some sort of interesting blur-like sound. Let's try it. Right, it's not going to be that much, but let's just get right, it adds a little bit of life weirdly. It sounds a bit strange. But in context, sometimes it can add a bit more life. Ooh, great idea, Peter. Let's do that. Let's detune our trumpets. Let's do it. It's a good idea. And I do write my own music. Yes, I've got a little bit on my channel. There's some audio Imperia demos I've done as well. Maybe I'll put them on the Discord if you guys want to hear just some bits and pieces. Thank you very much. Best regards to you as well. Thanks for joining in. So let's just sum these to a group. Let's call it trumpet. Let's go into our brass. Let's go to our Jaeger because that's technically where it would go. And then let's just see if it works to detune these a little bit. Could work well. Sometimes it works great. Wait for it to save 1 second. Because yeah, intonation's not perfect with instruments. Oh, not a semitone there. Right, this could work. That might be a little bit too much, but let's just maybe go down to like 11-ish, something like that. See how... I like it. What I do need to do though is... make these a bit longer. Why detune the trumpets? Mostly because in this case, they're the line you're going to hear the most. And also trumpets do have this kind of... It's a really interesting... If you ever listen to the Star Wars soundtrack really closely, so much of the character of the lead line is actually in these weird... Almost kind of... I don't want to say out-of-tune. They're not out-of-tune. They're incredible players. But in these weird... slight idiosyncrasies. It's not quite hitting the note sometimes, or it's overplaying the note when you blow really hard. Sometimes you get a little bit of a pitch kind of swell, if you like, a little tiny little over pitch. All these things add so much life to music. Obviously samples are very pristine and perfect because everyone wants samples in tune that work and sound good, but actually sometimes grunging your samples up is a great way to kind of make them sound more realistic and interesting. No, I mean, trumpet players are incredible. I mean, we don't want to go like... We're right back into that was me when I was second trumpet in high school. That's what I sounded like. Just bring those dolce down a tiny bit. Yeah, it's a great trick. It really works well sometimes. This is it, right? So much of what we love about real music is the imperfections of real music. And I don't mean that, like I said, incredible players, but that's what makes things human, right? It's just these little moments of kind of magic and weirdness, and when things don't quite work, but they kind of work better as a result of that. So sometimes we're trying to capture some of that. Cool. Now I'm just going to take some of the bass out of our strings. They sound a little close. I'll probably just do that. That's a little bit more like... There we go. See how it's kind of removing some of the bass and some of that nasal element. trumpet player, we're never wrong. Everyone else just is. That's so true. That's so true. Definitely true about trumpet players. Yeah, of course, these players are world class. I'm not for a moment suggesting they're not playing well, but it's just that those little moments of people vibing with each other, you know, you can try and get some of that in your samples, some of it by playing it live, or some of it by doing some grungification or, you know, detuning, stuff like that. You obviously want to be quite subtle with it sometimes, but yeah, it can work. So let's see where we're at with this. Let me just turn that down a tiny bit. Just do like a super quick, this is not really going to be a master at all. We're just going to make it a bit louder, maybe just add a bit of sort of texture to it, but nothing much at all. Let's maybe just try and... Cool. And then maybe let's just do a vintage limiter. No, that's probably going to be a bit too much. Let's just do, yeah, let's try it. Let's do a vintage limiter. There it is. It's true, you're not playing unless your lips are bleeding. Or tell trombonists to play quieter. That also goes as well. When you say you're written at pianissimo, can you just play a bit quieter? And they get very upset sometimes. I think that will kind of do. It's definitely not perfect, but for 2 hours work, it's pretty good. So this is what we started with. And this is what we ended up with. bad. Could definitely be refined and definitely be mixed and mastered a bit better, but yeah, it came together okay, I think. And again, I mean, I always wish I could take credit for this, but I mean, with John Williams, you don't have to do tons of stuff to get it working. And again, testament to Jaeger and Nucleus. Pretty much, I think all of this is Jaeger, Nucleus, and Araya. Yeah, but just sounds great. Really good. Bit of reverb, a little bit of, you know, quick mastering or quick mixing. Just sounds really good to me. And a tiny bit of Dolce at the end, just to sort of, you know, add a bit of depth in the bass. Yeah, so this is really good fun. Superman. Absolutely brilliant soundtrack. I don't know whether it's your favorite superhero soundtrack or not, but it's definitely one of my favorites and just so brilliantly written. Maybe we'll do an analysis one day of the music side of things, but you know, today was more about the mock-up stuff. And yes, as I said, the score for this is available places. You know, I know there's John Williams Deluxe scores, so if you ever wanted to look into this, they're well worth buying. They're amazing study scores, and I'm going to get mine back either from my friend or I'm just going to buy it again. Adrian, that's so cool. Yeah, definitely do that and join our Discord if you haven't already. And we, you know, people are putting what they're doing on there. We're all listening, giving feedback or, you know, support, encouragement. We absolutely love hearing what you're doing. Someone put, I think it was Lucas, put one of the How to Train Your Dragon with Nucleus again. He'd done his own version of it and it was incredible. It was so good. It sounded brilliant. He absolutely made Nucleus sing. So I'm loving you guys putting your original music up or your covers. And if this is inspiring you to go off and do it, definitely go do it. It's great fun. It's a great way to learn. And yeah, if you've got, you know, a few hours to do one of those, it's worth its weight in gold in terms of learning how all this stuff works. So we'll head back to just chatting and we'll wrap up. And yeah, then we will say goodbye. Cool. That was super good fun. Love the Superman theme. I haven't sort of really dug into it for a while, but yeah, it was really, really good to do this again. And I hope it's been useful for you guys as well. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say in terms of sort of housekeeping or anything. I'm going to be more active on the Discord from next week. I think we've really built a big community there now, which is great. You've been posting incredible stuff, and I think it'd be good to spend a little bit more time in there chatting to you guys. Maybe we'll put some questions in. Maybe we'll get some, you know, thoughts and opinions from you guys. And as I said, if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to see on stream, pop them in the Discord or in the comments below. We will definitely listen, and yeah, I'm sure we'll get around to those as well because there's been some great suggestions and stuff that I'd really love to work on too. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do because then you'll get notifications when we're going live, which is every Tuesday. We also put other videos up as well. There'll be another one coming in the not too distant future, and every week going forward there'll be lots of shorts and long videos for you guys to see, and at least a weekly stream as well. So yeah, this was really good. I hope you'd enjoyed it. Hopefully see you guys in the Discord, where I'll be spending a bit more time chatting to you all. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, have a great day. And I shall see you guys next Tuesday. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.